Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We'll give everybody a few more minutes to come on in the room. Move this camera up a little bit. How's that? As you're coming in, do me a favor, hit up the chat section. Let us know if you can hear us. Um, we are, where are we in Ethiopia right now?
We are in Arba Beach.
Arba Minch, which is southern Ethiopia. Yesterday, the internet was not working in our hotel, and they said someone's coming at 8 o'clock a.m. to fix it, and it looks like it's fixed. But this is our first time really putting to a test in this way of live streaming in this fashion. So, if you could let us know, come on in to the room. Thank you so much. We see you. Sister Brown, Sister Norris Mulligan, Valerie Pritchard. Good to see you. Reverend Crawford. Yes. Artia says, good afternoon. As a matter of fact, I'm going to fix it so that
Hi, Crystal.
all of your chats overlay. And so that way everybody can see we're live on YouTube, on our Mount Moriah Facebook page, and my personal Facebook page all at the same time. And this way everybody's comments should all come in together. Oh, she said we look amazing.
Thanks. Oh, wait till you hear about our experience today.
Well,
we don't look like what we've been through.
We don't look like what we've been through. First of all, where we can start as people are coming in is just on the travel here. So Mount Moriah, on Sunday we left on a 4-something flight in the afternoon, and we flew up to Chicago. Got in Chicago, so we went back an hour. Got in Chicago, then left Monday morning at 10-something.
Yeah, 10:30.
10:30 on a direct flight from Chicago to Addis Ababa. So like straight into Ethiopia.
14 hours.
14 and a half.
14 and a half.
14 and a half hours, to be exact. So what's wild is we went back an hour from Eastern Standard Time, then to go ahead 7 hours from Eastern Standard Time. And so we left Monday morning at 10-something, which was 11-something for everybody on the East Coast, and got here on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m.
Just 1 a.m. your time.
This is 1 a.m. So I couldn't really sleep on the plane because my body was still on Eastern Standard Time. So basically yesterday, I basically had to stay up until I could get on the right clock. So I had not been to sleep for basically a day. Now, I slept on the plane.
I
mean,
sure did.
she was sleeping so good.
I entered with a plan.
I mean, I was amazed at how well she was over there. I mean, curled. Just I looked and said I wanted sleep, but I could not find sleep. So I just stayed up. And so last night was the first night of me really getting sleep, and then we had to be up. If you wanted breakfast, you had to eat in the 6 o'clock hour, because at 7:30 we had to drive an hour to our AP, which is the main office for that region, that area for World Vision. So those of you that followed us last year, we were in northern Ethiopia in the Tigray region, totally different topography. It's more desert. It's a lot flatter. Where we are now in the southern region, it is mountainous, lots of vegetation. And so we drove an hour winding around cliffs. There was no smooth ride at all. Like, you had to just hold on and go along with the ride. And so the drivers were amazing. They got us where we need to go.
Oh yeah, we will.
The sun. Tell them about the sunrise on the plane. You can talk about that, because she had the window seat, so she really got to see the sunrise. I had not been to sleep, so the sunrise was beautiful, but I wasn't thrilled that it was happening because I've been up. Like I saw the sunset, I saw the darkness, and then I saw the sunrise. I was awake for all of it. So you can tell them about the sunrise.
Yeah, well, it's an amazing experience. I don't know how many thousands of feet above we were, but I started to see a glow emerge on the horizon, and I had to look a few times. I was like, is that we were so used to darkness out there as we were traveling, to see just the glow come, and then it just started getting lighter and lighter, and then there was this orange dot that started to rise above the horizon. It is an amazing thing to view from thousands, hundreds of thousands of feet in the air. um, to enter into Africa, approaching Ethiopia with the sun rising, um, before we landed, was an awesome experience. Um, to see how the light casts over the ground before we get there, and you can't even see the ground because we're above clouds. But an amazing testimony to the wonders of our God, and how He molded all of this, the earth we live on, and all of the things above, right? The stars, the universe. It's just an amazing thing to experience waking up from my slumber.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's particularly amazing if you've been asleep to really enjoy it. She was trying to go, she's like, look. I was like, yeah, it's great. And it was absolutely beautiful. I think you took some pictures.
I did. I'll share them eventually.
So yeah, we'll be sure to share it. So flew in, then we go to the main office for World Vision in Addis Ababa, get our whole security briefing, all of those things that we need to know about how to navigate, what to be aware of, etc. And then we had to quickly get back on the plane to then get down here to this region. That was about an hour flight. So that was the first day, and that got us to last night. And then this morning we're up early and we're hitting it. So we go around and we've got pictures, I've got video. We'll put together some things to show you. Words cannot express how beautiful it is. The mountain ranges, just absolutely beautiful. Lots of banana plants on the sides of the roads. And as we were driving, there were men lined up. I mean, had to have been maybe 100 men lined up along the side of the road. And our driver informed us that these were the men who were getting ready to go work the banana fields, or hoping to go work. So similar to where you see at different areas in our country where people show up in order to get day work. That's what we saw and drove through, along with driving through cattle and chickens and all kinds of other livestock. So we get to this very remote area. And in this region, unlike the region that we've been in before, where there have been a number of church sponsors already, there have been years of work in progress. So there were wells built, there was healthcare facilities built, there were schools that were built. And I won't go back and tell you about all last year. Like, about last year, you've seen that. Here, they're starting from the beginning. The needs are incredibly high, and it has been a very heartbreaking day, to be honest with you, and just seeing where things are. At the same time, very hopeful, because now the work is really beginning and the opportunity is vast, and the kids are amazing. So we drive in and the kids are singing, and they greet us with we hear calls of hallelujah and honoring God. And I wish I could remember exactly what the translation of the song was.
Jesus is my medicine.
Jesus is my medicine. Yes. So the kids are singing a song that translates, Jesus is my medicine. And when I tell you their voices are beautiful, and it turns out that these are the same kids that lead worship, and there's a whole, kind of chorus and choir thing happening, and they greet us with that. And we get some Nelia distinctive of the southern region of Ethiopia. So this design is unique just to this region. So anyone who visits here, anybody who wears anything like this, and we have scarves as well, you automatically know it's come from this region. You can't get it anywhere else in the entire world.
So to give some background, I know for those of you who followed us last year, we talked about how Ethiopia is divided into regions, into zones, into areas, and then into the villages. So, as Pastor already said, we are in the southern region, southern Ethiopia region. I'm trying to pull it up because it's a longer name. The Southern Nations, Nationalities, and Peoples region, the southern Ethiopia region. And we're in the Gamo zone. And then the area we're in is Garese. So that's where the area project is, the main office we went to today for the projects that are being established here through World Vision. And then the first village we went to where the chosen party
Which is amazing.
was Deshkele village.
Yes. So the needs are incredibly high. We actually, one of the things that I want to talk about is the water walk.
Oh,
So fun story. Um, Here, there's two seasons really.
hey,
Rain.
Waddell.
Mother Waddell in the house. Good to see you. There's the rain season. And there's the dry season. The rain season is really supposed to start end of May, but really June is when the rain season is supposed to begin. It rained last night. It rained today. It just finished raining a few minutes ago. What that means is mud galore. So as we were trying to get to the chosen party, as a matter of fact, which is where the kids choose their sponsors, our vehicle got stuck in the mud on the mountainside.
We were the caboose.
Yeah. We end up having to get out, walk up through the rain to a different vehicle, and we get to the chosen party. But later on, and we'll talk about the chosen party in a minute, we went on a water walk. So remember here, um, people end up walking miles just to get dirty water. And we literally saw as we were driving in yesterday, people bathing in the water. I mean, full out bathing in the river, I believe it was. Um,
Not clean.
Not clean, not sanitary, not good. So we go on a water walk. The water walk was one so that we could experience what it's like for them just to walk to get water and then see the water source. On our way going to the mountain, the road was impassable for our vehicles in order to get to the water walk, which was at the bottom part of that particular mountain because the water was basically like halfway up, right? And so they realized that they're not going to be able to get the vehicles through there. We were only probably about a quarter of a mile away. We didn't know how far away, but so they asked us, "Do you want to walk the rest?" And we said, "Absolutely. We're going to get out and walk." So we get out and we begin to walk to the beginning of what was going to be the water walk. And what we did not know is that the village was expecting us, and they had gathered right outside the entry point of the village, and they were singing and worshiping. So as we're walking down the mountain, because we came up the mountain, then couldn't get down the mountain because of the mud. So we're walking down the mountain to the base of the village to then walk up the mountain to the water. We hear them singing from afar, and it is glorious and beautiful. And the closer we get, and we've got video of all this, and of course, then we're there to join in with them. And then we begin the journey up to the water. The journey is not easy. It's very slippery because it's muddy at this point. It's steep. It's not the safest. So as a team, we encourage one another up. And I don't want to tell her story, but at some point, we've got to let Dr. Pamela Gay
What a testimony she
tell
is.
her story about today and her perseverance through this water walk. It was amazing. So we get up there, and the water source is the stream of water that we're told looked cleaner today because of the fresh rain, but usually is just completely muddy. What really broke our hearts was there was this little girl who I would say cannot be older than 4,
Maybe
maybe
about
5.
yeah, 5 or 6. Well, then again,
It's hard to tell.
it's hard to tell. And the reason we're having to guess her age is because we asked the translator to ask her how old she was, and she did not know,
Mhm.
which is unfortunately something that happens here, um, because of the children being born in the village and not having established health centers for them to be born at. They're not registered at the time of their birth and don't have a birth certificate. So the parents, excuse me, often don't have record of when they were born, um, or what day it is. Think about it. We take for granted we can just look at our phone, say, "Oh, what?" Like we said that how many times when we arrived here? What day is today?
What day is it?
And we can look that up. But these families, they just have no record of birth. So this child, she looks about the size of a 5 or 6 year old, but it's likely that she can be older. And we'll get more into that too, about the establishment of this program and what they're looking to accomplish, what they are starting to accomplish now, what they're looking to accomplish in the near future as a newer project. But a lot of the kids are malnourished or undernourished, so they look. I think they said 40. Was it 40 or 60% of the kids are actually
Mhm.
smaller than they should be
Right.
because of malnourishment?
Yep. So they don't have the right food and nutrition in order to grow, and so they're smaller than they should be, and so it's hard to even guess their age. Interestingly, we found out that, well, we knew this, but there were some dots that were connected to me that I just had not connected before to ask the questions. So of course, once you're sponsored, you have to have a birth date. So World Vision goes in and, to the best of their knowledge, gives you a birth date based on the information that's given, because you've got to have that. What this also means is these kids never celebrate a birthday. They don't have a birthday, even though they have a birthday. The things we take for granted, like I thought about every month how we say, hey, if this is your birth month, stand up and let's celebrate you. um Birthdays are a big deal for us, right? We celebrate the milestones, right? Mother Waddell, we just had a shindig for you, right, where we were celebrating a milestone in your life, where these kids don't even know their birthday, let alone is it celebrated. So interestingly enough, when they get sponsored, World Vision ends up celebrating the birthdays, encouraging family. Like there's a whole thing of now really celebrate birthdays. And of course, those of you who are sponsors like us, you know when your child's birthday is, and so that we can join in on that. So things like that you don't even think about, that you take for granted, like knowing your birthday, having documentation of your birthday, being able to acknowledge and celebrate your birthday, are things that a lot of these kids just don't even experience whatsoever. Um, Aside from the fact she recently started school, right? Because keep in mind, also World Vision is now really getting in. So she comes, now she's there by herself to get water, and has this little girl a jug of water to fill it up. She comes in the morning and in the afternoon. So she makes this water walk twice. So basically before school and after school. All right, is what she does. So this messed all the preachers up. Pastor King, and I'll let him tell this story, as he had a gift. He was touched. He went and gave her this lantern, that's solar powered, so that when she comes in the morning and the sun hasn't come up yet, it has not risen, that she would have light going to her water walk. But also, this is the necessity of getting clean water, because they go through all of this that we just described just to get water that is unsanitary, right? The water itself is contributing to malnourishment because it is not healthy. So the water can actually kill, it can actually harm, but it's all the water source they have. Um, I then carried, I don't know how many gallons, from there. I carried halfway down the mountain, one of the larger jugs just to fill. And this, now there was a woman who was half my size, who was carrying this jug on her back, or she was getting ready to. And so to get the experience, I grabbed it and carried it halfway down the mountain. I can't imagine doing this multiple times every day. I can't imagine doing it in inclement weather, right? When it's raining, um, making it even slipperier.
Having to travel long distance. I think those that we saw today
Mhm.
lived right at the bottom of that walk. Um, so they didn't have far to go to retrieve their water and to take it back home. But there are other members of the village that have to make a long journey through the road we got
Yep.
stuck on, um, which was very steep as well, just to be able to come to the closest water source.
Yep. So 1, 2 hours one way is very commonplace to get dirty water that essentially is poisoning your family. And you eat, you bathe, you wash all in this same water. So heartbreaking. But the hopeful news was the programs that are coming online here, the water washing program, right, which teaches the families and the kids, right, all the different hygiene pieces as well as getting access to water and clean water. And then there was the education piece. You want to talk about that
Which part?
as far as this, whatever part you want to. Yeah,
You mean education with regards to the WASH project or just education in general?
all of it, sure.
Okay.
And yes, solar lantern is something we could donate. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they are.
I think we can discuss some of what we learned today about this project. It is one of the newer established projects, so um, they've only been running for a year and a half, which seems like a long time. But if you think about the amount that they have to uh, get together, of course, the funding that we provide as sponsors helps with a lot of the establishment of things. But for any of us who have run projects ourselves, you know the ground phase is one of the hardest phases to make sure that you have a solid foundation before building on the other parts of your project. Really implementing it takes a lot. So what they have started with, and we did ask some questions in our meeting about how they decide to choose a region, how they decide what to start with when they establish a project in a village. And they did explain that a thorough assessment is done for every region that they intend to enter into. And then an assessment of the particular villages, the need, and then where they need to start. I asked the question, well, they shared this before I asked my question, but they start with the basic need of fulfilling the nutritional needs of the children and their families. Of course, a hungry child cannot focus in school. Um, Hungry families don't have the energy, excuse me, to sustain themselves, to find work, to just create the livelihood they need. So they start with that basic need of making sure that nutrition is caught up with. And we're going to learn more about that tomorrow. And then how that goes forward into economic empowerment for the communities. But it was awesome to see, especially the dichotomy between where we were last year and where many of our sponsored children are in, with a project that been an establishment for more than 3 years,
Mhm.
and then one that's just getting started, and what our funds are doing and what our funds will continue to do. So as far as education, we talk about the WASH project, which is about water, sanitation, and hygiene. Really have to teach the villagers about sanitation and hygiene and the importance of needing clean water and how to utilize the clean water to cook, to wash clothing, to wash themselves, um, to make sure that they're having the appropriate water intake and that it's needed for their own well-being, but also to make sure that their children have a healthy lifestyle as much as possible. Um, I think a lot of the questions really was, well, what next? And then part of that assessment, they see once that nutrition piece is put in order, what they need to establish next. For some, it might be education in the sense of with the WASH project, or just education in general, building the schools and bringing in the teachers so that the children now are able to attend school. And with that, then they have to do the economic empowerment piece for the parents or the adults in the community to make sure that the parents are able to have a earn an income for the family so that the children can be children and attend school and not have to tend to making ends meet for the family.
Yeah, and we'll share more tomorrow because we're actually going to get to go to the program and meet several of the women who are part of the program. And hello to everybody. Thank y'all for chiming in and saying hello. Hello, everybody. Um, but they've got programs already, one in particular that is helping the mothers economically. And we say mothers, there are some men who are in it. We found out today that the majority of these households are two-parent households in this extreme poverty. The question was asked, what's the percentage of single mothers? And the percentage is 9% is that we were given for this particular region. So you're dealing with people who the family unit is together, but there's extreme poverty. And because there's a lack of resources, there's a lack of jobs, there's a lack of economic empowerment and education. So those programs we'll share more tomorrow because we're literally going to spend some in-depth time with those programs and the people who are part of it and hear how it's impacted their lives. They even get low interest grants and loans or loans through a grant. We're going to find out more about that tomorrow. But anyway, that helps them to really get established and to grow. So we left then from the water walk and we go into the village, and we were blown away. We're greeted again by singing. We're watching men who are making something out of cowhide that seemed to be in cadence as they were scraping it with the women singing. The women were making pottery, and we'll show you some in a minute. Behind the women, when you went around one of the huts, were the men who were doing blacksmith work. When I show you the pictures and video, I cannot do it justice by trying to explain to you how skilled and ingenuitive these men were with what they were using, how they were keeping the fires and the coals lit. Even that seemed to be a cadence and in a song. Everything was in rhythm. Here's an interesting story, though, that is very impactful for me personally. So within this town, there's major oppression of these people that we're going to visit and that we're visiting with right now. So while these pottery makers and these blacksmiths, while they make goods that are sold and are needed for the community and for the economic growth of the community, they are shunned socially and their kids are shunned socially. They make up a minority group and people use their goods, people buy their goods, but they treat them very poorly. It is almost the opposite within our society back at home, where a lot of times when you think of those who are ostracized, it's those who aren't the ones that have those skilled labor sets, right? So people oftentimes look down on you based on if you have a particular job, et cetera, blah, 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 right? Well, these individuals are the ones here who are looked down on, the ones who are actually providing these major goods. Like we saw them making the tools that they use to then make the pottery and the other things. Like I've never seen a tool made from nothing. They make everything that they have, they make it and then they use it. And so all these kids that we're interacting with, all these families that we're interacting with, they're shunned culturally. And so a part of the work being done here is how do you address this systemic oppression, right? A lot of times there's this idea that because everybody here looks similar, that they don't deal with necessarily the same kind of dynamics that we deal with back at home. But the truth is that all society, wherever you are, no matter what the makeup is, there's this tendency to oppress, this tendency to ostracize, to hurt, to neglect, to do anything and everything but what Jesus has taught us, which is to love neighbor and to love neighbor as ourselves. Um, so it was in that space where we gave out gifts: soccer balls, coloring books, cars, toy cars, um,
Jump rope.
jump ropes,
Girl Scout cookies.
girls, Girl Scout. So Girl Scouts, shout out to
We
the Girl
made
Scouts.
it.
I want you to know that children and adults here in Ethiopia are enjoying your product. And for many of them, I can positively say it's like the first time that they've ever had Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah, probably a sweet treat.
Yeah. So, Girl Scouts, you made it. You made it. You're doing your thing. We appreciate you. Um, and so, particularly for us, for Pastor Murray, for Pastor King, huge shout out to Pastor Murray and Pastor King. One, I love them. They're my brothers. Them being on this trip has been life giving for each of us together. Us crying together, our hearts being broken together, praying together, and just experiencing and reflecting. Like all of us are never going to be the same because of this. And I am grateful for them, to all the First Baptist, James Island people. God bless you and thank you. Thank you for supporting World Vision. Thank you for supporting your pastor and him being on this trip. I'll let him tell his story, but I believe you're going to be very blessed based on just what he's going to be able to share with you. Same thing with Pastor King and the Zion Baptist family up in Hampton, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't want to tell his story. What I will say is there was this moment today where a little boy and a hug messed that man up for the rest of his life in all the right ways. And I'll let him tell the rest of that story. But huge shout out there as we've been reflected and thinking of just this empowerment model and what we've been experiencing. Yeah, it's been incredibly life giving. Um, so then we had to walk all the way. Keep in mind, the vehicles were stuck in the mud up the mountain.
Oh, you didn't tell them. We gave gifts, but then what happened?
Oh yeah. So we gave gifts, and then they were like, "Pastors, y'all got something to say." So I started to speak, and of course the translator's translating, and I expressed um, how honored we were that they would welcome us into their village, and that the gifts that we were given are from the love of Christ, and they're applauding and engaged. And then the next thing I know, they run off, some of the brothers, and they said, "We have gifts for you." And this is what I received. Like literally, we had just
Saw
seen
the women making them.
we had just seen them making them, right? Um, the idea, and they gave all the pastors have something. My wife's going to share hers here in a moment. Here's what broke my heart about this, right? We came here to give to them. This is their livelihood. They're in abject poverty. Like we're standing beside their hut where there's nothing but ground to sleep on, like all of that. And they immediately wanted to sow back into our lives. And we're so grateful. And we're, I mean, just nothing like it. So here's the thing. How long does it take to make this? Not a short amount of time. That I know. The fact that they're giving this to us when this is how they live just goes to show you the heart of people. Let me let Yas show you what she got.
And this is an Egyptian coffee pot. So when after we shared this last year, but when we are hosted by families or the area projects, usually we are welcomed by a coffee ceremony. And there is a young woman there preparing the coffee for us, roasting the beans, popping popcorn. So after she's finished roasting the beans, she crushes them up and then she boils it in this to then serve to us. So it's an honor, one, like Pastor said, to receive this gift from a village. We didn't go there expecting any tangible gifts. We knew God was going to move in ways to give us some learned experience to walk away with, but to receive something like this is such an honor. Um, so they gave this to Pastor Byron, and like you said, the other pastors also got different potted gifts. And then they ran off and came back with another and said, "This is for the mother." So this is a clay pot. I believe they store the coffee beans in here. I'm not quite sure. I'm going to have to get some clarification.
And I don't know if you can see the intricacies of this.
All the carving on the sides too. I don't know if they can see.
You probably can't because our lighting is not good in here. By the way, we randomly just have brownouts and the power goes out. So like as a matter of fact, the power has been much better for the last, like the Lord has been kind because last night it was going out like crazy. So if like we just go away for a moment, we'll come back and we're okay. Everything's fine. We just randomly lose power. Okay. Total normal.
It's not out for long.
It's not out for long, but it's a thing. And if the power goes out, the internet's going to go out, even though the laptop will still be rolling because of battery. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, I'll get clarification on what this is used for traditionally, but yeah, I think you can see the grooves, but they spent so much time. I also have videos and pictures of the women making some of these items, so you can see the amount of care and respect they have for their own craft. And then we asked about the process. So they make this out of the clay that is natural in their area. And after they're finished molding it, they leave it out in the sun to dry. And then they put it on heat to cure. So this is a finished project after they have molded it, after they've put their designs on it, and they've left it to dry. Then they put it on fire to cure.
So as you could tell, the product has different colors to it. So we asked the question, how do you color it? And Mount Moriah, y'all gonna hear this again. Let me just tell you, it's coming in the sermon. First Baptist, let me tell you, it's coming in the sermon from Pastor Murray. I told him he's got to like the Sunday after Mother's Day to get it in before I get it in because it's coming. We found out that the fire gives it its color. So they don't actually color it. The fire naturally gives it its own distinctive, unique color. So I'm going to leave it there because I'll start preaching because there's a whole lot of meat on that bone about how the refining fire is actually what gives us our color. It's actually what gives us our testimony, our witness. Okay, I said.
Let's keep it.
I'm going to put it in my pocket.
Okay.
Putting it right here.
There we go.
It's coming. Y'all going to hear that. Y'all going to hear it. Woo, I'm still processing through that thing. So as a point of reflection tonight, because by the way, it's 11 o'clock here, y'all. I know it's like the afternoon back at home, but it's 11:13 here. So we've already had dinner and reflection time with our team, with all the pastors, Mount Moriah, and everything. So the Lord had really laid it on my heart that it was significant that our vehicles could not make it all the way down that mountain, that we had to walk it. And I asked them, I said, if you agree with that, what do you think the Lord was trying to tell us? And everybody had really powerful reflection points on that. Everything from, because we got out and the drivers were like, oh, we'll carry your backpacks and everything. We're like, no, we got our backpacks. Like we need to do this. We're supposed to do this. Um, and so we all get out and we walk through that mud down that mountain. And my reflection on this was, as we're walking down the mountain, there the community, the village, were out singing outside their entry point. So they see us walking and they start singing. And the closer we get, the louder they sound and the more energetic they become. And I told them, I said, can you imagine the difference in seeing vehicles roll up versus seeing the people walking to you? Because think about it, they have to walk. They have to make that journey walking. And we're supposed to be trying to know what it's like to walk in their shoes. Well, how are we going to drive up here and then walk? So what they immediately saw were people who looked like them walking towards them to experience what it's like in some kind of way to understand their journey. And I really believe, one, that helped us gain some serious perspective, but it also caused us to connect, I think, more quickly with this community, which is why they were so open to welcoming us. And so just from their perspective, seeing us coming, and then we get there and like there's this moment where we're like we're joining in, we're trying to learn the words in a different language.
And I think we should note those that greeted us were the elders of the community.
Right, that part.
Yeah.
They were the elders. So the elders are out and they're singing and dancing.
And dancing.
Just and then they went back to do their work because we went on up the mountain for a water walk, and then we come back and we see them in their element. And so it was clear to me that what the Lord was saying to us, one of the things that I really believe the Lord was saying to us is that, one, these beloved people were created imago Dei, just like we are, in the image of God, in the image of God's likeness. God loves them. God cares for them. How dare we just drive up? We needed to walk. They needed to see us walking. We needed to be humbled by that walk. And for us to experience that journey together in that way. It was very emotional for the team, for the group, for everybody. Just overwhelmed by the entire experience, and then being able to sow into their lives, knowing what the work that we're doing is going to do, especially over the next year and a half, for this community, the programs that are being launched, addressing the discrimination issues. And a lot of that is just dealing with education, right? Ignorance discriminates. Education, illumination, that causes us to free one another, to love one another well. So knowing that, and then immediately being blessed by their generosity, it was powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So feel free to ask any questions, y'all. We're still processing through everything today, to be honest with you. And so you're kind of helping us just outwardly process through this.
Did you want to talk about the choosing party?
Sure, let's talk about the choosing party.
While people think about questions.
While you think about questions. Oh, no, just so everybody knows. So U.S. aid, which has been cut by the current administration, that has directly impacted World Vision. All of the sponsoring, for the most part, that goes to support the program. So the programs are fine, right? The water, everything we're talking about is fine. But that USAID money is what supported staff positions. So there are staff positions, 20% of the staff worldwide of World Vision basically got cut tonight. So a lot of people lost their jobs, got laid off all over the world because that USAID money is what actually supports those staff positions. So the blessing is, the money that we all give makes sure that these programs live. But I just wanted to relay that so that we understand just how interconnected all these things are, all this work is, and the model that World Vision has, which is really good. So one of the questions is, how's the rest of the team describing the experience?
Mm.
So in our reflection tonight, everybody's heart is being broken. That's pretty much what's happening. There's two things. Everybody's heart's being broken. Everybody's very gracious and realizing that we take a lot for granted. And everybody's going back saying, there's some things that I'm not going to complain about. Like every time I'm looking at water different. I'm looking at my bathroom different. I'm looking at a shower different.
My shoes.
Shoes. Oh man. So, this heavy, rough terrain, right? And pretty much flip flops at the most is what we saw people in, or like croc like shoes. As a whole, it's a lot of barefoot. Um, so shoes, so many different things. So everybody's really grateful. Everyone has a whole nother level of appreciation, and I'll let other people speak for themselves. I don't want to speak for them. So this is just relaying kind of what I've heard.
We will say this. When we got in last night, so the first night here, we had a brief just reflection time together. And there were a lot of questions that came up in that session that both Byron and I told them, wait till tomorrow.
Which was today.
Right, which is today. A lot of your questions may be answered. And lo and behold, today's reflection was just that. The experience itself lent the answers to some of the questions that they had. Still some outstanding questions, but we realized we had a different experience in the region we were in before with a project that was farther along. So we already know the answers to those questions that aren't established here yet. So because there's still so much need, of course, that lends questions to, well, what's next and how are they going to manage that? Depending on the program and the region, that may look different. Meseret, who is our leader here on the Ethiopia World Vision staff, answer that question a bit at dinner tonight, explaining the WASH project and what is considered when building the wells and the water points in different villages in this region. And again, I can't wait till you see the pictures and the videos that we have. This is such a beautiful region of the country. Now, that Tigray was not beautiful. It's beautiful in its own way, but north is a lot more desert looking,
rocky,
than the south. Lots of lush vegetation, which means that the ground is pretty fertile, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the water source, there's springs, natural occurring springs here. The water is right underneath the ground, which is why we have so much mud, because just with a downpour, the ground is saturated. Sounds familiar, right?
Yeah.
Except, of course, we're in the mountains, so there's just a lot of running water.
So we did find out that because of that, digging wells here would be so much easier and less expensive than like in the Tigray region where we've been before. So bunch of questions coming in. So
Nice.
let's go through them. First of all,
Who said whoever made that?
Jaden JJ James has said whoever made the thumbnail for the live stream, it is perfect. Well, Jaden,
we can do some stuff without you.
We are actually capable, even though you accuse me of needing to attend cyber seniors. I want to let you know that we created that right here, right before we went live, and did it in about 6 minutes. Yeah.
I know you probably do it in
Boom.
one, but yeah.
Boom. So yeah, that's that. Where are y'all staying, and have any of you stayed overnight with a village? All right. So we are in a hotel in Armich, which is about an hour and some change away from the very remote area that we're doing outreach in right now.
So Arba Minch is the major town in this region. So we flew from Addis Ababa, which is the capital of Ethiopia, here yesterday.
Yes.
So, and we're not too far from the airport, about 30 minutes.
Yep. So one, it's not safe for us really to stay in the village. And There are a number of reasons, of course, why. Like, so even at the chosen party, like it was noticeable that military personnel were there armed. So we're safe. Once again, we are safe, but we're safe because we're abiding by very specific protocols and different things. And so being in the village probably would not be wise. Also, not, the conditions, right? There's not really much plumbing or electricity, things of that nature. And so it's just not conducive for us to be able to stay with them overnight. Um, so yeah, so we will not be staying overnight, but we are spending a good amount of time visiting a number of different villages and getting an understanding and really knowing what the work is. All right. What was the next question? Um, are we administering healthcare and also are visiting the feeding different villages? Also, are visiting schools. So, Artia, a little bit different here in the South than it was in the North. So in the North, yeah, so after we're done here in the Southern region, which we're just beginning to do work in, and the church partnerships are just happening, we're going to go check on our kids in the work in the North, which is where we were last year, and where from Mount Moriah, most of our sponsor kids are, except for those who, um, were chosen today, which we got to see many of our members get chosen today. Um, our family as a whole, my parents, everybody, we decided to sponsor another child, and we got to see that, as well as Deacon and Deaconess Shepherd, as well as Ruthie Walker. Saw you get chosen. The Crawfords saw you get chosen. Oh, there's so many more.
Hey, did Micaiah sponsor a child?
Yes, Crystal? We saw Micaiah. We saw Micaiah get chosen today. So somebody sponsored a child with her name on it in picture. Anyway, what was I talking about? Where was I going?
I don't know. It's late. Where were you going?
I don't know.
Where were we going?
Where were we going?
Oh, the question.
Oh, there it is. So unlike in the North, where yes, there we visited the healthcare facilities, which Jazz can talk to you deaf about that, but we'll probably do a video that night about that. The schools, like all of that, because all that's established there. Here, it's from the ground up. None of that's been established yet. We're here literally to get all of that going, but where they're having to start with is food insecurity and malnutrition, right? So that's where they're starting, and we're making sure that the families have the support system needed. Like for instance, right now they have a program teaching mothers how to cook and feed their children, their young children, how to prepare the food, how to administer, like all of that. Because they realize that if they don't do that, right, they're at that stage. Then they bring in the other different facilities and education, etc., healthcare.
So when you talk about, and I think I want to clarify your question. Your question is, do we administer healthcare and feed the villages? So we as participants in World Vision do not. World Vision themselves do not. They assist with creating the infrastructure by which the village will then be able to establish health centers and be able to become more economically stable to produce food sources. There are other organizations here that do the feeding. World Food Program. Um, there's another one that we've seen last year, but particularly in the northern region, we saw their trucks set up and tents set up because of the displaced people that are still, what we learned today, are still in the northern region.
Yep, that's a whole different conversation that we will when we go back to the north, because we'll be back in that region for that. We'll be able to talk about it. So remember here too, in Ethiopia, healthcare is free. So once the facilities are established, which World Vision helps with that, then the government provides the healthcare providers and things of that nature. So with World Vision, it's so much about really understanding the different partners that you can bring in, creating the infrastructure for empowerment and self-sustaining. So it's very important that the people be empowered. Like you're not, because traditionally, and this has been a serious problem with Africa in general, right? It's people from the outside coming in, right? Which causes exploitation. It also causes, like, if those people decide they just going back home, then what, right? As opposed to making sure that people who are there are able to um, really become knowledgeable, become the individuals who are able to then acquire those jobs, right? Which creates economy, right? Circles the finances, things of that nature. I forgot what their currency is called here. But it really allows that. So it's a lot of work, but once it gets off the ground, right, it's life giving to itself. The whole idea is that things get to a point where they no longer need support from World Vision. Like then you can move on and help another community because this community now is self sufficient. They're able to now sustain themselves. All right. What's another question? Yeah, cyber seniors. I've been told I have to go to cyber seniors. Oh, that's
Conflict.
conflict. So yes, so in where we currently are, there's no armed conflict. Otherwise, we would not have been allowed to be here. But there is armed conflict in Ethiopia in different regions, not in the northern region, which is the area that we've been in that had major conflict that set them behind for years. That now they have really begun to overcome being set back from, because basically they went. I think it was COVID and then the conflict. Or was it conflict and COVID? No, it's COVID then the conflict. Sure. And so anyway, they've really kind of gotten through that. But there is armed conflict. And so when I was speaking with one of the person in Rural Vision who's over basically the entire all the regions, she talked about how out of all the places she's worked in the world, Ethiopia has been the most challenging. And one of the reasons is because of those conflicts that have that come up, because you got displaced refugees that still haven't been able to go back home, because although the conflict, the war has ended, they haven't resolved a lot of the issues. And the people who have been displaced are called up in that. So they're still displaced. They still, for years, can't go back home because of the politics of not really reconciling the true cause behind why there was discord and war in the first place. And nobody wants to go back, right, to having war. And so problems just go unresolved. It's kind of like a unhealthy relationship, right? Where it's like we didn't do well at resolving our issues, so we're just going to not talk about them. But there's all this stuff that's creating, I don't know, a very unhealthy dynamic. And so at some point we need to talk about it and reconcile and figure it out, or more than likely something bad's going to happen. And so the bad is kind of happening right now in that people are not being cared for well and can't go home. But the hope is that they will figure out a way to resolve. All right. So Keisha Love said, "Will you explain chosen for those who?"
There was one other
oh,
question.
there was one more. Sorry.
By Sister James about the wells. No, that's not the major mission, but it is one of their points. The major projects that they focus on in each area program.
Yep.
So we were just concentrating on that because earlier, I know you acknowledged you came in late. Earlier in the conversation, we were talking about the water walk we went on today, and acknowledging that where we are does not have, well, the village we visited today does not have clean water. So the next step in that would be to implement that water and health and sanitation program. So it is one of their guiding programs that they do, but it's not their sole mission.
Yeah. The mission is to end extreme poverty for children all over the world. Like that's the mission. So then what they have to do is go in and assess within each community what's needed, short term and then long term, in order to end extreme poverty for that community. And just water is typically high, up on that list, because without water, you can't exist, and you definitely can't thrive. And so typically, that's going to be something that is pretty high on the list that gets addressed pretty early. Food and water; those two things matter. Food, water, education. All right. Um, yes, they do have bathrooms where we're staying. We have running water. We have hot water this time.
This
Last time there was one that we did not, but we had clean water to wash with. It was cold, so you just don't stay in as long. That's for sure. Uh, there was another question.
Chosen. You wanted
Chosen. So, I'll explain chosen really quickly. So the way World Vision works in order to address these issues is they do child sponsorship, and the way child sponsorship works though is that it used to be the model that a lot of places use, and most places still do. World Vision, I think, is the only one that really uses the model. And Get Ready to Explain is, they show you a picture of children, and if you want to be a sponsor, you choose a child, or you just pay money. They send you, and they say this is your child. Um, the problem with that is um, there is this need to make sure that those who are already, quote unquote, the least of these, those who are already disenfranchised, those who are already dealing with the worst of society, and needs aren't being met, there's a dignity that you want to make sure that they have. Um, the one thing that the Lord has given us over and over in Scripture that shows us is love lived out is the ability to choose. Even God, right, who chose us, we didn't choose him, he chose us, right? That's what Jesus said. God loved us, died for us because God chose us. But even in that, gives us a choice on whether or not we will care or love God back. Because if you love well, love liberates, which means love gives you freedom to choose, even if that's to choose to be with the Lord. Um, so if you don't give people autonomy, freedom, and the ability to choose, then you're not loving them well out of the gate. So what Chosen does is they anybody who wants to sponsor a child, like we did at church on Sunday, there's a picture that gets taken, and those pictures get put up on a line. There's three different rows of it. And one by one, the children come in and they look through the pictures, some of them a long time and very meticulously, and they choose who they want to sponsor them. Um, And so, for instance, the young boy who chose us today as a family, the picture we had up was all of our family actually at last year's reveal. So when we came back from Ethiopia and everybody got to see what child chose them, was the picture that our family took, and we were all in Ethiopian garb. So immediately after they choose, they go and they write a letter that gets translated on why they chose who they chose. And for us, the young boy said he chose us because he loves his country, and we were wearing the clothes of his country. And because of that, he chose us. We were the only ones up there, right, that had that on. And that just meant so much to him. So again, you're already seeing in the beginning, everything has to be intentional about empowering them, for them seeing themselves as loved by God, created in the image of God, having freedom to choose, right? So that they can continue to make good choices that are presented before them to be empowered to move forward in the way God would have things to be. So basically, that's the chosen party. Then on Sunday for most of the churches, but it'll be the following Sunday, Mother's Day for us in Mount Moriah. Um, Everybody gets to see which child chose them because there'll be a picture. So we got to see the pictures being taken of the picture of the child holding the picture of the person that they chose. And so that's when they find out. And there's continued engagements, letter writing, all kinds of things that happen as much as people want to through the app or through the online portal with the children. So that's the chosen party for those of us who become sponsors. Yeah. Was there another? question?
Oh, hi, Deacon Ken Reed.
What up, D?
That
The
when you're talking,
chairman
the one,
of
that one.
Zion Baptist. How is the healthcare? Um,
Uh,
it's bad.
yeah.
In this region, it's again, that infrastructure is just practically non-existent.
Well, let's just say this: if something were to happen to any of us, they would have to take us back to the Capitol.
Yeah.
If you're concerned about us, because I'm not quite sure. That was a very general question.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'm sure that the regional capital probably has something. But yeah, we got to go back to Addis Ababa.
yes.
Yeah.
But as far, particularly the region we're in now, they're at the stage of needing to develop healthcare for the villages that World Vision programs are in. Whereas comparing it to the north, those villages already met that mark in the process. So they had established health centers that healthcare providers would come to provide healthcare, a centralized place to provide healthcare for those in the village. They still had to walk a distance to get there, but at least there was healthcare easily available, more easily available, readily available.
Yep. And yeah, similar to the issues in Rwanda, right? I mean, these are the issues we're talking about, the issues in any third world, right, country, in many ways, give or take in some ways, exactly based on the needs, topography, culture, circumstances, right? Because by the way, the reason why it's raining right now, which has made things so much worse for our getting around because the rain season wasn't supposed to start yet, is global warming, right? Which global warming also impacts the crops, which is a major way of people being able to provide for themselves and their households, especially with the programs that World Vision is doing. So those circumstances then necessitate needing to do things to mitigate that. So I did not see where they use rain and catch the rain. Um, and part of the reason probably for that is, remember, there's a rain season and a dry season. So for a good portion of of things, it's just dry. Um, but I did not see where they have that kind of um, technology, barrels, things around to where they're able to catch and use the rainwater. Um,
So our itinerary today really was our first full day of the programmatic part of our trip. Yesterday was all travel. Tomorrow we have another full day of programming. So we already mentioned today was the chosen party and our water walk in the village.
and the presentation of getting an understanding of
yes,
what the needs are here, what the assessment said, the finances they're going to need in order to create the programs, and the timeline that they're hoping to bring different things online, and the programs currently active.
And then tomorrow we learn about how they're teaching mothers to properly feed their babies. So we'll share more about that tomorrow as we learn more. But basically, it's a 12. It says like a 12-day program where the mothers all come together. They teach them how to cook nutritious food or prepare nutritious foods to make sure that their babies do not remain undernourished. Once they graduate from that, they've taught them the tools they need to make sure they're preparing what they need to ensure their babies are growing. And then we will also meet the savings groups. So we mentioned, of course, another part of their program is teaching them economic empowerment and stability, creating think of it as like a community bank of sorts. So they're all able to learn how to save. And then out of that savings that they group, they're able to take out loans to be able to do other business things, like small business loan. Think about it in that sense, but for a small village that's just getting themselves established. What else do we do? Oh, and then we meet with faith leaders in the afternoon tomorrow.
Which that excites me. So a lot of the work, again, that World Vision does, they have to work with the faith leaders in order to bring these programs on. And so again, three major religions here. The main one is Christianity, but it's divided in two. You have the oldest Christianity in the history of the world that is still existing is in Ethiopia. By the way, Ethiopia is mentioned over 40 times in the Bible. Right? Old and New Testament is has prominent places, but it also has the oldest still practicing um, ancient, so to speak, from ancient of days, I should say, Christianity. So that that's the Orthodox Christians here, and then there's a contemporary sect of Christianity here, and then you have Muslims, which make up just over 30%. I think it's 33% of the religious body. So we'll be meeting with leaders from each of them to really hear about their work and their hopes and things of that nature. So that happens tomorrow.
And then we have the sponsorship gathering. So that's for those who members here. So we were chosen, the new pastors and their churches were chosen. So we will be able to sit and meet with those children that chose us
and give them gifts.
and give them gifts and get to know them and their families. Typically, a mother or father figure comes with the child, which is great because then we get to learn more about their family dynamic and the greater needs of just that, more than just that individual child, but how we can help impact the entire family. So that's tomorrow. And then Friday, we leave here. We leave Arba Minch and head back to Addis Ababa. Our Zion Baptist and First Baptist family will be departing. And then Mount Moriah will head up to the north the next day, back to the Tigray region. We fly into Shire, and then we go to the Asgere village, which is where many of our chosen children are. So we get to get an update on how that village is going, and then meet our children that are in that village, those of us who have children there. That's really our day, Saturday. And then we return to Addis on Sunday morning. We have an afternoon in Addis, and then we get on a flight Sunday night, our time, to return home.
Direct to Washington, D.C. With U.S. aid being cut, would World Vision be enough financially to help fund the program as a whole? So I talked a little bit about this before. So World Vision is their model is really, really good. And they have a really godly model. So what they do is the sponsorship money really goes towards the programming. So we are the ones who really, in our giving, who make all the programming happen. So for every child that's sponsored, the impact is over 4 kids because the whole community gets uplifted through it. Because in order for that child to thrive, the community has to be thriving. So everybody really benefits from that. And that's something at some point we really should just do a whole video on and get World Vision in, because it's a profound model that really needs to be replicated at home in some ways. But don't get me started on that. So yeah. Their programming is good, but 20% of their workforce literally tonight, like the workers who are here from the States had to leave and get on a conference call at dinner because they knew and were made aware that 20% of their workforce,
11% of the workforce, but 20% of World Vision funding comes from USAID.
Got it. Sorry. So 20% of their funding comes from USAID. 11%
of the
workforce worldwide got cut tonight because of the USAID money. So thank you for correcting me. Thank God for a wonderful wife who makes sure that I'm not saying stuff that's not right or true by accident. Chosen's model prevents or safeguards against exploitation and corruption in the system itself. That is exactly right. It's again one of the reasons why I'm so impressed by it. It really does. So
We do not know how much they sell the coffee pots for. I I mentioned I mentioned in the car after we received our gift that I really wanted to purchase one. That was going to be one of the things I searched for on this trip to bring back as a memento. But from what we heard in the village, they will go into the town, the main town, which again, we drove that long, windy road, bumpy road, maybe 30 minutes. This is driven on bumpy road away from the main town. They go there to purchase what they need. So the blacksmiths go in there to purchase the metals that they make their tools with, and then the women go there to sell their pottery.
Yep.
How's the food?
So we can only drink bottled water, which they provide us plenty of. Every time we turn around, the drivers and different people are handing us
And we
bottled
gladly
water.
take them.
Because if you don't drink the bottled water, you're gonna be in a bathroom around here because our bodies just aren't conducive to the bacteria and things of that nature. So yes, we've got plenty of bottled water. As a matter of fact, I'm staring at 4 bottles right
And there
now,
are 3 or 4 in the fridge too.
and then I've got one in my backpack, or a water bottle is full in my backpack. Yaz has one, so we are well hydrated and
Food
taken
is
care of.
delicious.
Yeah, it is. I had some curry tonight. That was so good. Um,
So last night they had a buffet set. I think we came to dinner later tonight, so that's why they didn't have the buffet. I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
know.
But last night there was a buffet, and even this morning we had breakfast buffet.
Yeah.
They have a lot of the national dishes, the traditional dishes out to try. But then they have stuff that anybody else may want if they're not daring enough to try the local cuisine.
Yep.
But
The goat's good.
the local food is
Woo.
great. If you are a fan of spices,
Man.
as in the different types of spices, curries
And spicy.
and spicy,
Mm.
Ethiopian food would be for you.
I made the mistake of not having my water ready when I started eating that curry today. And I was like, ma'am, excuse me, I need bottled water, please.
Well, let's just say it this way: I am enjoying myself.
Yeah. There is a good working relationship with the faith leaders is vital to the work that World Vision does, and they invest a lot of time and energy building strong relationships with them, and also helping to bring them together. And so that's a part of what tomorrow's about as well. And it's very interesting. Interestingly enough, one of the higher directives was really interested in what I had to say about Charleston Area Justice Ministry and the work we do of bringing different faiths together and things of that nature, and wanting to talk more about that, and even having some space where we could do some dialogue back and forth from the both perspectives, what's going on here, et cetera, so that we can learn from each other on that, and talk about the challenges that we face around that. So yeah. Well, y'all have been very kind to stay on. Like there's been
Yeah.
over 70 people with us for like over an hour at least. Um, Again, without pictures and video, I really don't feel like we're doing justice to our experience here and what we've seen. But we're trying to do the best we can at almost midnight after a long day that we've had. Um, so yeah, hopefully this was helpful and informative, and we answered your questions. If we missed your question or whatnot somehow, join us tomorrow night if we have internet and power, where we will believe God that we will have that, and we'll be back with you again. But yeah, let us know. Was this helpful, guys? Is this something y'all want us to continue to do as long as we can while we're here? Um, Let us know in the chat section real quick. Thank you for everybody who said you're praying for us. Thank you for everybody who sent us well wishes and asking for us to be safe and all that kind of stuff. The World Vision staff is absolutely amazing. They're taking great care of us, and we're very, very happy.
Oh.
Oh, thank you, Sister Virginia.
Reverend Pearson, you said you started eating chicken curry in Brooklyn. Well, let me tell you, this curry's different. The spices
Yeah.
here are different. It tastes different,
Mwah.
but it's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and there was another question we missed. Somebody said we made mention of the women, but what about the men? Well, the men were the blacksmiths
Yeah.
in the village we visited today.
And doing the hide, the cow hide.
The cowhide.
Yeah.
And they are in the fields harvesting the banana crop and other
Yep.
crops. Oftentimes,
The cattle.
the cattle, they may be out for days with their sheep, goat, cattle, donkeys. So if we mention women, it's because women are more present in the village when we're visiting, because the men, unlike today, of course, the men do their work in their village, but like in the north, the men were out.
The children are responsible as well for the cattle, the animals,
water,
and the water. So a lot of the female children were doing the water walk. So that's where they were. But when we did the giveaway, the children were there, and so they were very present. But they have a lot of real jobs and assignments that they have to do. And that's one of the reasons why getting these other programs up so that they don't have to do those jobs and assignments is what allows them to go to school. Because even if you have the schools there, that does not mean the children will go if they're having to do the other things in order to take care of and contribute to the family's well-being. Yep. Good questions, y'all. Good questions. What time tomorrow? So we don't know. So here's the goal. I'll tell you what the goal is. The goal is to try and be on between 10 and 10:45. Would you say?
Sure.
Our time, PM, which is 3 and 3:45 y'all's time. Like tonight, I was exhausted. I'm gonna be honest with you.
But I mean, we were on
that whole bumpy ride though, back for an hour. I was knocked out.
Knocked out.
I slept that whole hour.
He was like this.
Like I was so Reverend Richardson, he clowned me afterwards. He's like, I don't know how the pastor was sleeping, because the whole time you're just doing this, like for a whole hour. And I'm sorry, you're doing this around corner. Like you're just bouncing up and down. So somehow I've got my hand gripped on the bar up here. And one time my head slipped off and I just fell over and I woke up and I put my head back up there and I was asleep. Listen, but y'all think I'm sorry. Pastor Murray went to sleep.
We gotta share that picture.
We have a picture of it. He went to sleep sitting up. It was impressive.
At the chosen party.
It was impressive. I ain't never seen a person do that. That was the true example of looking like you praying, but you sleeping. So it was impressive. I think like in one way or another, all this. So because of that, and the reflection and dinner was so good, I had a bolt of energy to where I felt like, all right, let's do this. Let's go live. We got to go live. The internet's working. So the hope is again, that we'll be on during the 3:00 hour.
Sister James, I know it's 4:53 for you, but it's almost.
Oh, you saw the picture in the share folder, Jaden. Yes, that's that picture.
Yeah.
He sleep sitting up. He sleep sitting up. Oh, we got all kinds of like funny stories. Some stories that weren't funny in the moment, but now they're kind of funny because like everybody's okay.
Oh.
So
bring some spices, Ashley. We'll see what we can do.
We'll see what we can do. Thank you all so much.
Yes, thank you for your kind words and for your continued covering. We appreciate it.
Artia, you the bomb. Sorry, y'all. We're going through all the comments just to make sure we did the best we could here. Pulpit napping. I said the same thing. I'm going to have to learn that skill set. Make it look like you're praying. You're just up there getting a good nap. Deep meditation. Yeah. Yeah. Well, family, thank you for your prayers. Please continue to keep us uplifted. We're going to start preparing for tomorrow because the days are early. Although tomorrow should not be today was physically
What did I say we did?
A lot.
10,000 steps.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, 13,000
So
steps.
13,000 steps and what was the elevation difference?
I did 13,736 steps, 6.83 miles, 85 flights climbed.
Hold on. Let me peep my stats. Wait, what?
I don't know what you did.
I don't know what I did either. Hold on. What? Okay, there we go. All right. I did.
Well, I got more than you.
How did you get more steps?
Hey!
Something ain't right here. How is that possible? Oh, wait. Oh, man, it just hit midnight. Everything crossed over.
I know. It disappeared.
All right, we did a lot. We did a lot. And I carried that heavy water down the mountain. What I'm gonna need my Apple Watch, my rings to do better because I worked hard today.
He is competitive. I can't beat him at anything. Even though I don't know how that happened. We were together all day.
Exactly.
Girl power, Jaden. Woohoo!
And she can beat me at stuff. She just doesn't often. She did hit me today, everybody. She sure did.
Why would you say that?
She hit me, everybody. I got witnesses.
Why would you say that?
I can't remember why you hit me. Oh, it was a bug.
Yes. I'm swatting a bug off of you.
Listen. She was swatting a bug off of me. But man, there's a swat and there's a hit. And somehow it went from swat. I think the bug was on my back, but somehow
it was not. It was right here in your collar.
It was in my. Y'all hear that? The bug was in my collar.
It's time for him to go to bed.
I got hit in Africa. I just want everybody to know.
Next time the bug will stay on you. That's right. I'm gonna leave it.
No, don't do that.
Leave it right there.
I don't.
Swat your own bug away.
May the Lord bless you. I'm trying to give a benediction here. Let me
see. Midnight came. It's time for us to go to bed.
Midnight has come. We're grateful that the power has not gone out at all. Well,
I don't need it
to. We need to edit this all out. All right, listen, everybody. Love you. Thank you so much. May the Lord bless you, keep you. May God's peace completely be with you, covering and guarding your hearts and your mind in Christ Jesus. And may the Lord protect you as you travel the highways and byways until we meet again. Good night, good people.
Good night.
Love y'all.